recognize this man. He does an outstanding job in our school district, police officer. Police officer Burton. Please give a round of applause.
Thank you, Mr. Kurtz, for the very kind introduction. I was excited when I was asked to speak today at the Veterans Appreciation Assembly because this is a topic I hold very close to my heart. I want to share with you the story of one American military family. Now, this will be the first time that I have spoken publicly about my family and the tradition of military service that we are so very proud of. Many of my family members have served during wartime. Some served in World War II, some served in the Korean War, some are serving now in the Middle East, one was a POW, and one never made it home. But first let me start about telling you about another story, a tradition that all of us take part of every day in school. You have all learned the words to the Pledge of Allegiance and recite them every day in school, at sporting events and other public venues. But do you know who wrote these words? And do you know what all the words in the pledge mean? In 1892, a man named Francis Bellamy had an idea. The year 1892 was the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's discovery of the continent of North America. Bellamy wanted school children in the United States to honor Columbus Day in a special way. He wanted them to think about what America and its flag stood for. So Bellamy sat down and he wrote some words for children to recite while they saluted the flag. He called these words the Pledge of Allegiance. In September of that year, Bellamy published his pledge in a magazine called The Youth's Companion. The pledge was also printed and sent to all schools across the country. Bellamy's idea was a great success. On October 12, 1892, more than 12 million school children in the United States celebrated Columbus Day by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. The pledge became so popular that Americans have been reciting it ever since. Now, Francis Bellamy carefully chose the words he put in the Pledge of Allegiance. Since then, a few of the words have been changed. In particular, the word "under God" was added by Congress in 1954, but most of the pledge is exactly the way Bellamy wrote it. Let's look at the words of the Pledge of Allegiance and what they truly mean. The words, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America," means I promise to be loyal to the flag of the United States of America. The words, "and to the Republic," means I promise to be loyal to the country and to the type of government. The words for which it stands mean what the flag stands for. The words "one nation" means a single country. The words "under God" means a country that obeys and honors the supreme being. The word "indivisible" means a country that can never be divided. The words "with liberty and justice for all" mean a country where there is freedom and fairness for everyone. Some of the words in the Pledge of Allegiance had special meaning for Bellamy. For example, republic means a certain type of government. In a republic, people get to elect those who make laws. Bellamy believed that being loyal to the United States meant being committed to this idea. The words "one nation" and "indivisible" had special meaning for Bellamy too. Only 30 years prior, the United States had fought a terrible civil war. Back then, the nation had nearly divided into two separate countries. In the pledge, Bellamy is saying, we can never let such a thing happen again. We are one country forever. Finally, the United States Constitution promises freedom and fairness for all Americans. But Bellamy knew that these promises had not always been kept. In his day, people still remembered slavery, and too many people were still not treated equally, especially women and African Americans. That's why Bellamy included the words "with liberty and justice for all." He wanted Americans to help their country live up to its promises. Think about these words the next time you pledge allegiance to the flag. Remember that you are promising to be loyal to the ideas that make the United States a special place. And that means helping your country be at its very best. Since we have just talked about the Civil War, let me share with you a story about a Civil War soldier from Harvard. A veteran who, with his service, began a long tradition of military service in his descendants. My great-grandfather, Daniel Burton, was born in 1840 in New York. As a young boy, he and his parents moved west, and they settled in a newly established town called Harvard. His family built a home on land deeded to them by the government, and he grew up there farming. When he was 20 years old, the Civil War broke out, and he enlisted in Captain D. Lewis Kelly Company, 15th Regiment, Illinois Infantry, on May 24, 1861. This photo that you see up here on the screen, my great-grandfather is the one on your far left, and the other four men in the photograph are involved in the story that I'm about to tell you from the Civil War. They were all Union soldiers. He fought in many important battles in the Civil War. He, along with 300 other Union soldiers, was captured on October 4th, 1863, by General Hood at Acworth, Georgia, while they were protecting the Chattanooga and Atlantic Railroad. He was confined at Andersonville Confederate Prison as a POW in Georgia under horrific conditions. One day, while being transferred to another prison, he and four men escaped. They avoided being tracked by the bloodhounds and survived by running through the creeks at night and sleeping in the trees during the day. After several weeks, they reached the Union Army in Florida. He re-enlisted on March 10, 1864, and served till the war ended in 1865. He came back to his hometown, Harvard, where he raised his family and farmed the rest of his life till his death in 1923. One of his grandsons was my father, Eugene Robert Burton. He was born in 1928 and also grew up farming in Harvard. After graduating Harvard High School, he was drafted into the U.S. Army during the Korean War in 1950, and he was discharged in 1954. He served all 4 years at Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. He was spared being sent into combat because he had lost a brother during World War II. His brother, my uncle, Charles Burton, was born in 1920. He joined the U.S. Navy after graduating Harvard High School, received his training at the Great Lakes Naval Academy, and was assigned to a submarine, the USS Herring, as a diesel mechanic. After many successful missions, the USS Herring departed Pearl Harbor on his final mission on May 16, 1944. Charles was only 24 years old. The Herring and its sister ship, the USS Barr, crossed the Pacific Ocean and refueled at Midway Island before going on to the Kurile Islands, which is a strip of islands separating Russia and Japan. The Herring had snuck into a Japanese harbor late one night and sunk 2 enemy ships at anchor. As she was making her way back out of the harbor, she was hit and sunk by 2 artillery shells fired from the Japanese shore battery. My uncle and the crew of the USS Herring were killed June 1st, 1944. I am the 4th generation of military in my family. I served in the U.S. Army as a combat engineer from 1981 until 1989. Like my dad, I was stationed at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, then Fort Campbell, Kentucky, where I was attached to the 101st Airborne Division, and I did 1 tour in Germany. I, though, was fortunate to serve during peacetime. Now we have been at war for over 12 years on multiple fronts, and my family is on their 5th generation of military service. My stepson, Ken Giza, was born in 1983 and joined the U.S. Army in 2002. He has served 2 combat tours, one in Iraq in 2003, one in Afghanistan in 2008. He is currently a staff sergeant assigned to the Reserve Center in Rockford and has recently been notified that he will be going on his 3rd deployment to the Middle East region in 2014. My oldest son, James, was born in 1987 and joined the Air Force in 2006 after graduating Harvard High School. He is currently a tech sergeant stationed at Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana. He served a year in Korea in 2011 and will be deployed to Saudi Arabia in July of this year for another year-long tour. My second oldest son, Jared, was born in 1989 and joined the Air Force in 2008. He is currently a senior airman and is returning to his home base in Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota after serving 2 tours of duty in Kuwait and Afghanistan. My third oldest son, Brad, was born in 1994. He is graduating this year and has already joined the U.S. Army. He will be leaving July 1st for basic training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, then on to Fort St. Lucie, Texas for his advanced training to become a combat medic. This is just the story of one American military family. There are millions of stories out there about our veterans and their families, all deserving your respect, gratitude, and thanks. The next time you say the pledge, remember all those veterans who have fought and sacrificed so much to give us the freedoms that we enjoy today. A famous author, Charles Province, once wrote, "It's the soldier, not the preacher, who has given us the freedom of religion. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us the freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who has given us the freedom of speech. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us the freedom to protest. It's the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It's the soldier, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It's the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves under the flag, whose coffin is draped by the flag. Thank you, and God bless our veterans."